All right, welcome along. We're back again with the show that has no name yet still. We've got the fantastic Jade Skillen. She is the official pocket rocket.
You think?
Mm-hmm. We're going to try and get your accolades right here.
Go on.
Hyrox.
Spartan.
Athlete. Pro. You're going to have to give me some,
So, yeah, I mean, you could say all of that. I guess coach.
Yeah, coach, mentor.
Dog
amazing.
mum,
yeah.
if you want to go that deep. In terms of athletic is definitely Hyrox, pro athlete at the moment.
Yeah.
Moved from Spartan across. Was competing there professionally as well.
How many podiums did you have?
In 8 years, about over 70.
Yeah.
OCR, that was obstacle course racing. Then moved across from there, found Hyrox much more suited to me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the journey.
You've had how many competitions now, Hyrox?
God, four competitions, I think. Yeah, 5 comps.
5 comps. How many podiums?
2, a world championship invitation. So it's actually an invitational as well, rather than a qualification.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very new concept as well, though. So
it's a brand new event. Very new.
Everyone's finding their feet inside of it.
People coming from OCR, from CrossFit.
Yeah.
And you have an online coaching business now. You've graduated from your boot camp.
Thanks to you.
Yeah. Well, and your hard work. Now you've got a online coaching business. So how many athletes?
So at the moment we're hitting about 140. That's been grown in the last 12 months.
Yep.
We're stuck between a rock and a hard place, as you know, for a long, long time. So,
of course,
yeah, coming out of a place of confusion and no direction, really.
How long have we been working together now?
3 and a half years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah. It was 2018.
First ever intensive was Marbella.
Yeah.
When I arrived there a week earlier.
Yeah. It's hilarious.
Ringing everyone, asking where they are.
So we have group chats for all of our guys when we come to the intensive. We just had one. We just finished an hour before we get here, 2-day workshop. So we set up a group chat for everybody getting there. Jade's like, "Where is everyone?" I'm "You're a week early, man."
Taking a selfie, just saying, "I'm here already, a drink, ready
here.
for everyone to arrive." And
yeah.
Nope, you're a week early, Jade. So that was the start, to be fair.
And so you had your boot camp. It was shit ton of members at the time, doing really well.
Yeah.
What compelled you to join our program in the early days?
I think it was just kind of getting to a point of a good level of members. We weren't a struggling business or anything like that, but it was what next for me? I didn't know the direction I then wanted to take. I think the first thing for me was, how do I get out of my business? Mm-hmm. That was the first thing. That was the first goal I thought I wanted. And then for me, it was kind of okay, so how do I now, what do I do now? I'm at the peak of what I can do in my town. Mm-hmm. What next for me? And because I'm constantly striving for more, as my partner will tell you, it can be I just didn't know which way to go with this now. And so that was kind of why I reached out. I saw you getting out of a BMW what was it?
In Miami. That was our Miami event. Yeah.
And then it kind of I've got a feeling that was the same video that then went into your backstory.
Yeah.
And that kind of just touched me. It just touched me, and I was I need to speak to this guy. I need his help and his vision, and help with my vision, but I could see your vision through that video.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things I resonated, even though I haven't lost a gym and all those different things that you mentioned in that video, there was definitely some things that
a parallel.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. And now obviously we've been working together a long time. One of the things and I think I've mentioned this before in other episodes, one of the things I'm most proud about is the amount of time that I get with clients. It's not usual or typical in what I do, but some of my clients have been with me a hell of a long time. We've got an incredible friendship, but also a massive respect for each other, and what I respect you, what you do, you respect me, and you continue to work with me. What would you say? We've just finished it a day and a half, right?
Yeah.
We had an amazing group of people. What do you get from, I'm not just saying my group, but what does being part of a group of like-minded people bring to you?
I think it's coming out of the mundane local feel of where you live, and I'm not going to denormalize a word? Is it a word?
I don't know.
Denormalize. I'm not going to say that people aren't normal, because that's, what is normal. But there is an element to it where when you get in that group, when you get in that room of those people who are of your awareness, it opens and expands your mind. You can't even explain it in words. You come away and your mind is open on every level. Whereas when you get back into your town, sometimes you start to then shrink to the environment around you. And I think you can fit boxes that you believe people want you to be in. And it's not until you actually step into a room of people that are striving and have vision and have goals and led by yourself, that leadership helps a lot. And I think, for a long time, I've been in a team environment. I played sport all my life. I played football to a high level, and that team made us strive. Like not one person on that team could be successful without the others. They're not going to play against 11 players and win. So I think, it's a very similar feeling when I get in that room.
Yeah. And you touching on something incredibly important, like your environment locally. Like if you're in a local town, you've got to work really hard to curate a group of people that are striving, that have great mindsets, that are encouraging, like actually want to see you win.
And that's really difficult, even in your friendship group. It can go as deep as your family. And to find those people to actually find those people is almost what feels impossible sometimes. Yeah,
it's like a little kid, right? You've got a child, and that little child is playing in the park. And you see the parent, and the parent's like, don't do that. Come back here. Get off that.
Careful.
Be careful. And as we become adults, that same narrative just plays out, except people worry about almost like you hurting yourself, losing, like whatever it is, but they're almost trying to like, be careful, don't do that.
I've got such a good example of this. So when I started my online business, me and my dad don't have the best relationship anyway, but he literally touched base with me in COVID and was like, how are things? And I said to him, things are okay. They're all right. Business isn't quite where it was. However, I've made a shift in direction. He was like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm going online with things. It's going to open up a lot more opportunity for me. And I literally remember his message saying, don't forget where you came from.
Yeah.
And that was like a whoa moment for me. I was like, do I go back to that fearful state? Or do I continue again with your leadership, being around other people? Do I pull myself back to that place and how I feel when I'm around that, as opposed to falling into that kind of mindset that potentially I have grown up with, limiting mindset.
Yeah, it's fear. Like it's fear-based mentality, right? It's like, I don't want you to grow so far that you become so free and liberated. The alternative is like, let your kid go. Like, go and play in the park. Go and hurt yourself. Go and fall over.
Yeah.
You're like, go and learn. Like,
for sure.
Explore. Be yourself.
Absolutely.
And we need that. We need that encouragement for people to be like, fucking, it's incredible. Like, go for it. Yeah. Go do it. You need to curate people around you. And also almost have like an impenetrable mindset where people say, don't forget where you come from, the connotation or the tonality that comes with that, and all the loaded...
it's baggage.
Stuff
you've been through.
Everything. Just be like, I get it. But I'm cool. I'm happy.
Someone once told me something and it just sticks completely. And it's basically never take advice from someone you wouldn't change places with.
Yeah.
I think that's like everything. Like, would I be in that position? Like, would I be in his position right now? Do I want that? No, he gave his business away. He now works for his brother and he's in a not a good place. So for me, I look at that. Whereas I had a couple of entrepreneurs and people who I looked up to who joined my boot camp back in the day. And, I saw him turning up in a Lamborghini and I was intrigued. I was like, what do you do, Kane? And that's actually who introduced me to Spartan race, actually. I ran my first race with him. And, he owned a multitude of different things, but his main thing was property, and he owned a property company. And he was the guy that said it to me. He once said to me, he was like, listen, the best piece of advice I can ever give you, if you want to take it, I'm not pushing it on you, but never, ever take advice from someone you wouldn't change places with, whether that be like money or whether that be awareness. And I think that's where they are in life.
Definitely. Like, it's so hard as well when it's like a family member or somebody we respect or somebody close to us, when they say something that is limiting, and like we can really fall back into that pattern. And we just spend a day and a half on breaking the pattern of who you are, essentially. And every single day we do things out of fear and automatic patterns. We wake up, we brush our teeth, we get a coffee, we speak to the same people, we pick up our phone, we orientate our environment around the stuff that we do every day. And it's the familiar, known place to be. And sometimes if you want to really, really change who you are and you want to really build the business that you truly desire, then you've got to step out of the current identity that you have. And that's incredibly difficult. I know you were between, like you were known as Jade, the bootcamp girl for so long in your town. You got almost an element of fame around it.
For sure. Yeah.
And that's very difficult to then go, okay, I no longer want to be this person, but people know me for this. But this isn't who I actually am.
Yeah. And that's been quite a lot of process that I've actually gone through in the last year. And that process kind of went even further back than that. It was like people would stop me in the street because I'd be on the back page of our local newspaper for football and, Jade signed for this, that and the other, top goal scorer, whatever it is. And those things would constantly be in the Newmarket Journal every week. Mm-hmm. And like people would literally stop me in the street when I was like 16, 17 and be like, oh, I saw you had a wicked game. I didn't know these people. And it was like local fame. And that when you're kind of 15, 16-year-old is big. And I wasn't one to be going out drinking and, it gave me discipline from a very young age. And then when I stopped playing football, boot camp became the identity. So actually I probably haven't even found me yet. And I think that's where, this is now I'm having this kind of, at 30 years old, and with the change from boot camp to the next part of me professionally, mm-hmm. I'm now like, okay, like who am I in this process? And I think, I can honestly say, and this isn't just me bigging you up, like I don't know where I'd be if you hadn't come in at the right time, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a process. And I think I was ready to pull away from the boot camp, but mm-hmm. I didn't know how. I was tied to the financial gain that it was giving me from a young age.
And the significance, the recognition, all of that.
For sure.
And it's so hard. I experienced the same thing with me with the gym, and like I even shared with the guys today, I'm like, I had a gym and I was known for that, but I knew it was such a limited version of me.
Yeah.
Like I was never going to experience, become what I wanted to become by being a personal trainer in a gym. It was never going to happen. And my aspiration is to speak on stage in front of thousands of people to change and transform millions of people's lives. That's not going to happen if I continue to play the game of a personal trainer where other people assume me to be this person I'm not.
For sure.
And this is what happens. You will have experienced it. I experienced it. When I start making decisions for my own life, like I don't want to coach anymore, it disorientates other people and they become almost bitter in a way that you're stepping out of what they need because you want to be you. Yeah. And we can get to a place where we actually start to serve others ahead of ourselves because we don't want to let other people down. We don't want to, like, we understand how important it is for them, but we can put ourselves last.
And 50%, I can honest to God, hand on my heart say 50% of those people I was coaching for a multitude of years would put their head down in the street now and not talk to me. It's that deep when you want to change direction and you don't fulfill them anymore. You become selfish and you become what they think of you. If you allow it, you actually quite quickly become what you think they think you are.
Yeah.
And that can be quite like damaging if you don't have that.
Selfish, you like
this,
that's why
you
it's forgot where you come
weekend,
from.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you come out of that. Am I that person? Am I selfish? Like, am I wrong for putting me first? And yeah,
it's all about money. It's this, it's that, it's the other. Like, and it's all projection, of course. But I knew, like in my heart of hearts, I'd known for 3+ years that I was limited and I no longer wanted to do it. And it was doing it out of obligation to others, to staff, to like the construct of the gym, to the members, all of that. But it wasn't until I started thinking to myself, what is it that I want? Like, what do I want? Like, why can't I make a decision? You can change job anytime you want and nobody's going to judge you. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to do this business anymore that has such an impact on your life and it's the worst thing in the world. Like, it's not fair. Like members leaving and stuff because I'm no longer coaching. I get it. I do understand it. But so many people live a limited life because of what other people expect of them. And their expectations of who you are in their world can be very strong. And if you go against those expectations, then suddenly you're a bad person, or you forgot where you came from.
Yeah.
You forgot your roots.
It's a powerful concept. I think it's, I think if I'd have, and it's that thing where like I have to get rid of the guilt that is applied, the guilt I feel for others. Like that guilt can carry like a rucksack. Like it can carry like a 70-pound rucksack on your back. And I think the biggest thing for me is like, literally my mum looked at me in the eyes one day and was like, those people wouldn't care if you had to wheel yourself out in a wheelchair every day when you're 70, 80 years old, as long as it's serving them.
Yeah.
And I had a situation where I've had 2 voice operations from coaching. And I had a situation where I had to have 2 weeks off after the operation. And this is probably a little bit of my own learning. Obviously I didn't have coaches in and all that stuff that I learned further for, like with you. But back in the day of running it and not having that leadership, I just was out there blasting it all day, every day, like shouting at the top of my voice. We had like sometimes like 70 members in one session. And after my second operation, I had to have 2 weeks off. And I never forget a client literally messaging me and was like, when are you back on the field? And I was literally like, I can't speak. And they were literally like, yeah, but we've paid a membership. And that was like a whoa moment for me, where actually that was probably quite a turning point for me. Was actually they would rather me go and stand out there, scream, even though I couldn't get anything out, in pain, and just to have that 45-minute training session.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone's like that.
No,
because
definitely not.
Definitely supportive people as well. And,
And it's not everyone. It's not really, on the flip side, you get it. They're paying for service. They require that service and this, that, and the other. But it comes to a point where so many trainers aren't serving themselves, and they're locked in a paradigm of what they believe they have to do. As a personal trainer, I was doing like 6, 7, 8, 9 sessions a day. Like, it's not the client's fault. That was the construct of the life that I'd built. But it sounds fantastic at the time. Money can be great, but it's such a prison at the same time.
For sure.
Like, we can't be ourselves, and we can't express who we want to be, and we can't necessarily do things that we like to do. And maybe your business needs to evolve, and you might need to increase your prices. That comes with its complications. I remember increasing the price £10 a month when we weren't VAT registered. I had people slandering me online saying I was like Hitler. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous because at one point, 2 years prior, I said I will never increase the price on current members. It got to the point where financially it was impossible not to. Like, with all overhead, VAT, like everything else. I'm like, it was 10 quid. It wasn't even the added VAT on top.
Like
I was still eating a piece
week.
of it. Yeah, of course. And obviously the service was impactful, but my opinion is like, you either get value and pay it or you don't. And I'm okay with either way. Yeah. I'm not making this decision to make your life worse. Like, I'm making this decision to make our service better. And I want to help you by providing a better service. And that comes at a premium. Some people value premium, some don't.
Because we get so emotionally attached to that thing and that business and that person. And we know we're passionate about what we do. But if there's any advice I could tell former Jade, it would be like, learn the systems, hire someone to help you early on, and not worry about that initial emotion to, oh my God, like it's going to cost me $1,000 or it's going to cost me $2,000. Because tenfold, if I look at where I was at 20, I had a successful business, but what happened now is I'm probably like 3 times what I was making, and I have freedom to do whatever I want. I think that's the biggest thing that I had a wow moment. Like, I spent 3 weeks in Mexico in January running a business. I don't have to be out there on a cold field at 5:30 in the morning, like with not Reynards, but can't feel my hands when I get back in the truck. And I'm like warming them up on the heaters and like trying to get them hot before I drive home. And those things were great when I was 21, 22, and it was all exciting and new. But eventually you do start thinking, okay, what do I do now? Like, how do I get to that next place where I can have freedom, I can do what I want? And obviously my athletic career running alongside that, like, I want to be able to do those things. That's a value of mine.
Yeah, and you'll never create the future version of yourself with the limited thinking of your current self. Like, you just never will. I think that's such a thing for our industry. Like, it's almost a bad thing in our industry to make money. I remember the very first, like I got an Audi. I had like a beat up Ford Focus, right? I remember the first Audi I got, and I was actually terrified to turn up to training.
I used to avoid our high street.
Yeah, I was terrified to drive to the first class with like the new car, because I was like, are these people going to think that they're paying me too much money here? Like, it's such a weird concept.
I don't know where that comes. Where does that come from?
It's not even the thought of the client, really. It's like a self-worth issue more than anything. But I believe we're in like one of the best professions on the planet. Like, I think we're in the most impactful profession on the planet. I think coaching is one of the most important things in the world. Bar none. Every form of it.
Yeah.
Every form of coaching on the planet raises the vibration of the collective humanity. And I think the more people engage in coaching, the more that the world will evolve. And I think we have a tremendous responsibility on our shoulders. And to build great businesses, we have to have the fiscal backing of it, the financial investment to be able to grow it. And that comes from building a solid business.
For sure.
Right? The event that we just put on today, like, it wouldn't be possible without money.
We'd be doing it in a field somewhere.
Yeah, and the impact of that. The impact that it has on each individual person to take that back to their clients.
Absolutely.
And like, it's a massive ripple effect. And
yeah,
so,
you think how many people you've impacted from that one event now. Like each person, like
their families, their
500
friends,
clients, 200 clients, 300 clients. That's mad. And then those clients take that back to their friends and family. And it's, and usually I'm sort of a little bit different because I'm obviously working with a different level of client now. So I wouldn't say level, but a different caliber of client.
Yeah.
And now it's actually really interesting because the people I'm working with now, like, I've chosen that person.
Yes.
I've actually gone out there. You've allowed me to see that, no, you can work with who the fuck you want. Sorry. But you can
swear
you can work
Drop
with
them F-bombs.
who the
Fuck
hell,
yes.
like, you can. But you can, like, you can work with who the hell you want. And that, I didn't even comprehend what was possible.
Yeah.
I've now got athletes in America that are paying me every year and never even meeting me in person.
Yeah.
You know, they're paying me $2+ grand, like, up front. Some of these people, even though obviously you teach an incredible sales process, some of these people aren't even, you've shown me how to do things so organically and structured, and you utilize my credibility in the sport I'm in. Actually, some of these people are paying that without even having a conversation with me.
Yeah. On DM, chat.
Yeah.
Because
with the system, like the structure of just a couple of chats. I do a little bit of voice noting and, you know, they're there. Yeah, I'm ready to do that.
Because like, people look at sales and marketing and they think like marketing is about generating leads and they think sales is about making sales. But everything is everything. They think content creation is content creation, marketing is marketing, ads are ads, funnels are funnels, sales are sales, delivery is delivery. But like, everything, that's everything. It's all of the same thing. How you create content, how you market, how you advertise, how you structure your communication in any kind of marketing or automation or emails influences the way in someone buys, but then also influences how they show up as a client. Like, it's all the same thing. And so we've got to look at that. Like, what we do before the sales process massively dictates how that sale will go. And what people are trying to do is like, they're trying to game the system by running some ads, not doing all the other shit. And then like, I can't make a sale. Of course you can't, dude.
Yeah.
Like, there's no trust.
And that's one thing you've taught me, is just build that trust, constantly show up, even though that money isn't showing in your bank account right now. I never forget it. You literally said to me, what you do now will show up 90 days from now. I remember that in the last intensive you did. And then literally I sent you my first maybe 3 months of running an online business. And I literally sent you a screenshot of like the week I'd had. And you were literally like, what you've done 90 days ago is now showing up.
Yeah. Acknowledge that wasn't this week.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't this week that created that. It was the weeks beforehand. And most people give up before they get to that point, or they lack consistency. So that 90 days is always moving. Most people are like starting on a Monday, they fall off a Wednesday, like, I'll get back on it on a Monday. But then the 90 days is always shifting. And they're never really giving themselves an opportunity to create anything. It's the compounding effect of everything they do every single day that will show up.
It's the same with my athletes that I coach.
Yeah.
You know, like yes, changing you're getting an expert to help you with your training, fine. But the compound effect of nutrition, sleep, recovery, strategy and all those different things, they're what are going to make a podium performance.
Stacking on top of each other.
Right now, you can get a bit faster, you can get a bit stronger, you can take a couple of minutes off, your Hyrox time. But if you're to be what you want to be in a year or 18 months from this point, like Gaz is a good example.
Yeah.
Like he's up at 5 a.m. Some would say he's mental, but like he's up at 5. He's so diligent.
Yeah.
He's so disciplined that.
Yeah, it was 3:45. He got out of bed yesterday so you could train before he came to our event.
Yeah. And that I think is exactly like what you say with people with their marketing systems and things like that as well. I think they want a result now. And I think now we're in a day and age where like I can order my Just Eat and it'll literally be outside in a second. Yeah. And we want it like now.
So fast.
And I think that's the same with like PTs. Like they look at other online coaches and stuff and they're like, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
But then they're not prepared to do the work and hire the person to help them get there.
Or they see the result and they don't see the body of work that goes behind it.
Absolutely.
One of my friends asked me, he's like, you're doing these podcasts, like, how do you do it? Like, how do you speak? How long have you been practicing? I'm like, dude, I've been doing this for a decade. Like, this is nothing to me. Sitting here on camera speaking is nothing to me.
It's only because you look hot as fuck now. That's why you avoided it before, isn't it?
Yeah, when I was fat, like 60 pounds heavier.
I'm not calling you fat.
Yeah, I was. I am. But he couldn't get his head around the concept. Like, how is it so natural for you? Because nobody has seen it in the visual. But I've been doing this for a decade. Like turning up on Zoom calls 2 hours a week.
Yeah.
Not even 2 hours, like 5-6 hours a week, every week for a decade. You do that, you have the ability to communicate. People don't see that body of work.
I remember like my first ever like PT like course, and I had to deliver a group coaching session for like 6 people. And I was like losing my shit about it the day before. I was literally like, I can't do this. I can't talk in front of 6 people. How am I going to tell them where to go and then where to go? And I look back now and I think like, shit, like I've actually done like a couple of like seminars and never even blinked. Like I would happily coach 70 people and, obviously I don't want to go back to that. But, I did. I got to a point after probably 8 years where like I would happily have got on a stage and coached hundreds of people.
Speaking was my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Public speaking was my number one fear.
I think sometimes your number one fear is actually your hidden
talent.
Success.
That's like your shadow. It's like you've just got, it's like, I said the quote before in our event, like, we do not fear that we are inadequate. We fear that we are powerful beyond measure. And it never really landed with me before until I started to realize, okay, so if you bring a level of energy that is way beyond the collective group of people, you are now an outlier. You are standing in full power, which means that you are at risk of being judged, which is a human is one of our biggest fears.
So we shrink.
So yeah, it is easier for us to be bottom of the pile than it is top of the pile. Because people don't take shots at people that are behind them. They take shots at people that are ahead of them.
Wow.
And so we have to like really step into that and own it and really understand the power of what we're capable of.
And let people hold their own judgment.
Yeah.
As their own thing.
Yeah. And like you say, you started afraid to run a group to 6 people. It was the biggest fear that you ever had. You started bad, you started poor, you started slow, you started inefficiently, but you started. Mm-hmm. And then over time, you got good. You got a little bit better, so you weren't bad. And like, you sucked a little less. You sucked so little that you were actually really good. And then you become incredible at what you do. So many people want to be over here, but they're unwilling to be bad. They're unwilling to suck. They're unwilling to be slow. They're unwilling to be inefficient.
I'll tell you a story about that. So last year, so obviously Hyrox has been around for like 4 years now, right? So they probably started at like the worst time they possibly could. Like lockdown. Right before COVID was my first ever Hyrox. I literally, a couple of the Spartan guys messaged me. They're like, Jade, there's this functional fitness competition I think you'd be really good at. Never even heard of it. Went out to Germany with the guys and we had an absolute blast. And I just lost my nan the month before. So it was a bit of a distraction and just got out there and had some fun with it. And it was incredibly eye-opening. I was on the sled pull and all I remember thinking is, how the fuck am I going to get this thing? Like I gave it one pull and I was like, this is right at the beginning of the competition. How am I going to get that from there to here and back again?
Yeah.
And I remember not throwing a paddy, but I remember 10 minutes that sled pull took me, 50 meters. It took me 10 minutes to get it from here to here, right? And I remember literally then starting to like brainstorm on the flight home. I was like, what strategy do I need to go through in training right now to make that sled pull my nemesis, like to absolutely dominate that?
Yeah.
It's now my strongest component in the Hyrox. It takes me just under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And there was another situation where that was obviously my first ever experience at Hyrox. And I had a second experience at Hyrox last year where I was actually invited. So Hyrox hadn't hit England yet. So only hit England last year. Yeah. Right. And biggest growing fitness competition in the world, they've said. There's 4,900 people taking part in London.
Yeah, it's like watching CrossFit happening again. Like in a new.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so there was a world championship event last year in Leipzig in Germany. And the race director literally reached out to me and was like, Jade, like, we want you to be the UK person to go. Mm-hmm. So like I absorbed that. I was like, yeah, like I've got this. Like I'm coming from a Spartan background. Like I've been racing. I know what I'm doing. And honest to God, it was the most humbling experience I think I've ever had to date. And it took me a long time to digest it. It took me a long time to actually get over the emotion that I felt with it. Basically what happened was I'd had 2 Hyrox events before that. That was it. 2 experiences and that was it.
Yeah. Was that the same day?
No. So like 2 competitions beforehand. So I'd had 2, that's like someone doing 2 CrossFit competitions locally.
Yeah.
And then being thrown into the games.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
It'd be like someone being chucked into the ring with Braulio.
Yeah.
BJJ.
Like
and they've only been been like done 2 local competitions. And I was there and I'm not even going to lie. Like I was like, I'm fine. I've got this. Like I've been running this. I've hired a coach. I'm good. And I got to the Elite 12 and there was literally 12 girls from all over the world. This one girl, Lauren Weeks, is reigning world champion. She's done it in like just over an hour. And it fell apart. The whole competition just fell apart. And I fell apart. And like I said, like it took me a long time to come back from that. And I'm only now in a position because it knocked everything. Am I a good coach? Am I even good enough to be here? Yeah. Do I deserve this? And it was probably the first. I've had a couple of bad football games where I had a paddy and that was it. Blame the rest of the team, but there was no one to blame in this situation. And all I could put it down to is my experience wasn't there. And like I threw myself into that with a mindset of I'm good enough now, even after just 2 competitions. And I pulled away and I literally, I was terrible. It was bad. And
for a long time as well.
Yeah, it really knocked my confidence and everything around that. And it's, there's only been 2 competitions since, but I came back, got a top 10, got a top 5 in the latest. But obviously, that's took a long time to kind of come back from in the sense of like mentally. But it's driven me to now want to
You're also like, that's living in the gap, right? It's like what I'm not, but you're also got to live in the game. Like I'm one of 12 females in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
that is incredible in itself.
Yeah.
And I also think as well, we often put our identity into our results in life. And so if I am not successful here, I am not successful as a human being. Right. And what we've got to do is like really detach from our outcomes and our results in life and being like, this is what I do. This is not who I am. Right. Because if what we do is who we are, then when that is taken away, then we are no longer us.
Do you think that's for most of the population?
1,000%. You ask somebody, hey, my name's Chris. What's your name? What's the next question?
What do you do?
What do you do? We're defined by what we do. And so if we're not very good at it, our entire definition of who we are is based upon that. Yeah, exactly. And that's the existential crisis, right? It's like, that's the crisis of humanity. Like, who are we? Who am I in this world? What do, like,
especially with the world changing so much as well. As in you should be this and you can't be this. And you know, even with like the broad spectrum of different things, like, and they're putting like labels on every single one of them, like actually like it's mind boggling. Like, am I that or am I that?
Part of you that is not you. I seen it with my dad when he retired from work. Like he took a voluntary redundancy. His entire purpose was a provider for our family. His entire purpose was working in Nissan, He was known in there. I had a stint of 18 months working there. He was very well respected by everyone. And all of his respect, his friendships, his social circle, his sense of purpose in the world. He knew what he was. He knew what he did. In that environment, he could orientate himself. That was taken away from him. And then it's like, who am I? I bring no value to the world. Like, it's stripped personality away from him because all of a sudden this thing that he's known to be, now he no longer is. But like, he's so much more than just that thing. Like, that is an extension of who he is.
Yeah.
And all of the thing, like the way that he has purpose, the way that he was respected, the way he would communicate with people, the way that like everybody would come up to me like, oh, you Phil's son, like he's a great guy. He's one of the good people in here. All of that is because of who he is, not what he does.
He probably didn't see that at the time.
No, nobody does. Like, that's what we do. We're like, redundancy is a massive thing for people. Like, people get made redundant, and it strips a massive part of who they are because they internalize that as like, I am no longer good enough.
I guess it's the same as well. Like, you probably see it a lot with mums, okay? Mm-hmm. Like, kids flee the nest and, okay, you've been a mum for 18, 20 years. Now what?
Equally the other side. They give birth and they're like, now I'm a mum. Who am I?
Yeah.
Like, I am a mum, but who are you? You're not just a mum.
Yeah.
Right? You are, a mum is a part of you, but who are you? You're so much more than just a mum.
And that could be so, I guess, destructive in a way because people just live with that constant identity all the time. And then it's just, okay, here's a good one. Like, retired athletes.
Same thing.
Like, retired athletes, you see it all the time.
Drugs, gambling, alcohol.
They don't know where to direct that passion anymore, and that became them.
I don't know the statistic, but there's an extortionate amount of NBA players who end up broke and also suicidal, depressed, alcoholics and drug addicts.
You can see it.
Because, and here's why, people set a goal for their life, right? How long's an athlete's endeavor, like pro athlete? When do they retire? Typically mid-30s,
35?
40. I mean, Brady's an anomaly. He's just come back after retirement with unfinished business. But like, the average athlete retires in their 30s. Look at Wayne Rooney, right? You look at Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, right? Yeah, Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo is a year older than Wayne Rooney. Look at them athletically. Like, no, not taking anything away from Wayne Rooney, but he could still be playing.
Of course.
For 1,000% he could be. People get to the end of their athletic career and they set their sights on maybe winning a title or winning a competition or whatever it is, but they don't create a goal for their humanness beyond their outcomes or the things they want to achieve. So they don't create a character goal or something that goes beyond that. So once they reach that, like, life's over. 35 years old. I've done everything that I ever set out to do.
Now what?
Now what? Yeah, exactly.
And there's nothing that will ever fulfill that.
No, it's a massive void.
And I know that as an athlete, like, there's nothing that would fulfill that. And, you know, I think there's so many like teenagers and guys that are going through, and females that are going through academy level sport. They get injured, they drop. That's it for them.
Yep.
And then they're on this road of like discovery, if they even go on a road of discovery. And I think that's a really kind of, like a sad thing. There's no support for that.
1,000%. One of my great friends, Johnny, played for Liverpool. His team won the Youth Cup. He didn't play, but he got a medal. And it was like such a massive thing for him. Like, I'll have him on the show at some point. It's such a difficult time. And I think there is elements that maybe still impacts him from then. Same, I retired from semi-professional football at like 25 years old, 26. And I didn't do anything for a good period of time, like a real good period of time. No sport. I didn't have any outlet. And what I realized was like there was a massive void in my life. And I missed sport dramatically. That's what started me in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, like 35 years old, purple belt, training with like young, like Paddy, I've trained with for 7 or 8 years. Like he's on the precipice of becoming, he's famous. Like he's known. Like there's no denying now. He's on a journey in the UFC at such a high level. And I'm doing things at 35 now that I wasn't doing at 25. And it's because I have like more of a process goal now than I do an outcome. Like, yeah, I'll be a black belt at some point, but I'm just enjoying the process of showing up and doing the work. I think it's so important for everyone really to have something that they're chasing, a mission, a purpose, something that drives them, something that they can get excited about every day.
It's like a good example of that is Miriam Bossett. So she's a Spartan pro athlete and she's incredible. She lives out in, I think, Tenerife, and she has her athletic drive, and she's been a world champion, and she's been to 4 or 5 different world championships, and she's done very, very well and competes at the highest level in Spartan possible. But she really isn't defined by being an athlete. She actually lives very self-sufficient. And that's her way. They run like retreats. She's a fruitarian, but she shows
people. Does that mean you just eat fruit?
It's mad.
Wow.
Crazy. Like another level to Gaz.
Yeah.
And she's world champion. She literally landed. What did she land at the World Championships in Lake Tahoe? Her flight came in late. She was racing like 2 days later, and she was just eating bananas. It was honest to God, I swear to God. But like,
was she like the
very far fetched? Not a lot of athletes could do that.
No,
I'm not limiting it, but
it's almost like Popeye, but for bananas.
For sure. I think she chases them.
Captain Banana.
But her mission is like to green the world as well. Like she has this mission to really kind of like plant trees and
so when her career goes, she's fine.
Still got that focus
sound.
And she's got that thing that's fulfilling her because that's her identity.
She has a purpose in the world,
for
right?
Sure.
It's so important, man. Like for anybody, it's so important to have so much more than your career. You got to remember, right? 8 hours we sleep. Well, we should, 8 hours, decent amount of time. Or sleep for 6 and snooze for 2, like most people do. What? Getting showered, eating food, 2-3 hours a day.
That's 12 hours, isn't it, really, let's say?
12 hours taken away instantly. Half of the time on the planet is going to maintenance, to just living, like to being here as a body, as a being.
Then.
Yeah. 12 hours we have a day to really dedicate to stuff that we want to do. 8 of those hours are taken up in work. What does that leave? Like fuck 4 hours. Yeah, fuck all, basically. But 4 hours a day to actually do shit that you want to do. So you better find something that you fucking love doing every day for your career, for your work, because if you don't, you've got 4 hours to live a day.
Yeah. What's that a year?
I don't know. 1,460 hours a year.
It's not a lot. Now divide that by 360. Oh no, that'll take you right back where you were.
4. We also do math here.
That was my shit subject at school. D, a strong D.
Yeah, I could tell.
But yeah, like I think that's where I was, and I think I allowed boot camp to become the identity after football. I had my Spartan racing.
Yep.
I'll be honest and hold my hands up. I'm probably never going to feel about a sport as I did about football.
Yep.
But it just wasn't, at that time, it wasn't the right thing anymore. And so, yeah, I definitely, the identity became, and I was lost somewhere between boot camp, Spartan, like what now? Like for 2-3 years, like I was like, this is great. Like I'm making shitloads of money compared to the people I was at school with. Like this is incredible.
Yeah.
And it's got me great things in life. But there was like, even probably up to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
There was what is like something's missing. God, I thought you were going to tell me my missing thing.
No, I'm not telling you anything.
I was waiting.
But when you sit down at night, you close the door, you lock up, you sat on the couch or you're lying in bed, all that you're left with is your thoughts in the dark, right? So the stuff...
I can tell you what I'm stuck with. I'm not alone with my thoughts.
Yeah. The stuff hydrates you in the day, right? All the stuff, driving a nice car, but like once you still, like, what's your level of fulfillment?
We've literally just had that, like, all the material things. Like, yeah, they're lovely. Like, they buffer, like, they polish the outside, but they're not a mask. They're not.
Yeah. They're not everything.
They're used for a mask.
And don't get me wrong, I like nice things. I like making money. I enjoy that. But there are plenty of people out there making good money, doing something that they hate. And that's, like we said, it's what, 60% of your 50% of your day doing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think you should really find things that really light you up and things that you're really passionate about and things that you can monetize and use your talents to hydrate the economy.
And you got to build that around you, not you around that.
Nobody's going to do it for you.
That's where I think the struggle comes, is when you're building you around it. It's got to be that around you.
We had this discussion
you are
today.
In the middle.
Like people who have businesses, entrepreneurs, usually become like real workaholics. And that's the same thing as somebody else who might use alcohol.
It's an obsession.
Yeah.
You're constantly...
It's the same thing, yeah. Legitimately the same thing. It's just a different outlet that might be deemed more positive. But you've got to just understand that, like, if you got into business so that you could live a better life, then you better build your business around your life, because your business can become your life very quickly. And you can sacrifice the things that you really care about and you love and you adore in the pursuit of building a business, which then ultimately you try to make more money so that you can get back the time that you actually want.
You can't buy back time.
So the boundary you have to create is like, okay, I'm going to build my business in this amount of time. I'm going to plan in all of the things that I love to do first. Date nights, gym, hobbies, kids, family life. And then these are the hours that I have to build my business. That then forces you to go, what are my strengths? What is my superpower? What is the thing that I can only do? I can't outsource this. Like, I can never outsource this piece of what I do.
Piece of Chris.
Yeah. Like, I can't outsource teaching. I can't outsource training. I can't outsource coaching. And I could, but it would never be the same. I can't send somebody here to do this show because it's not going to have the same impact. This is what I'm good at. This is what I love. But Jacob producing this, I can. Paul taking every piece of the video, trimming the clips up and post-producing the episodes for social media, I can. In my limited time of the day, there's no way that I could sit here, record this, produce it, edit, chop up, trim, post, everything. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I could if I sacrificed all the other things in my life. So you've got to think, what is my superpower? Like, the rock star is the rock star. The drummer's the drummer.
It's like you said, you've been like nagging me, Jade, get a videographer. Like, get a fucking videographer. Do it. And it's not until now I've done it, I've realized, like, whoa, like, this is mad.
Yeah, it's not as hard as I thought it would be. And actually, it's way more beneficial.
And actually, that 300 quid is out of my pocket, and I've got all of that because of it. Like,
exactly.
Rather than, what's it going to do sitting there? It's not going to make me better content. It's not going to make me better reels and videos and everything else.
And when you start to see it as an investment anyway, you start to see what's the ROI and me being consistent and producing high quality content and producing stuff that gives value to the world. Like, you raise the energy. Like, what you put out is what you get back. Your energy is a mirror. And if you are out there sharing negative stuff or not showing up at all, then don't expect people to come towards you. Like, if you're not out there giving, then don't expect to receive.
That's powerful.
So you got to give what you give, understanding that energy is a mirror and it will come back reflected. So whatever you give will be reflected back to you. And I think that's just the thing you've got to, as a coach, like, you've really got to take note. Like, do you want to play a small life? Where are you playing small? Like, do you want to live a great life? Are you put on this planet to do great things and live a world-class life? Then fucking go for it. Do it. Like, nobody's going to do it for you.
People think big, but they don't do big. And I think that's where the confusion, like, they think all these different ideas and I want to be this and I want to do this. And like, I want to is like the hook of staying in the gap, like you said today with all of us in the room. Like, you know, if you're in that gap forever, you're never going to be.
Yeah.
And I think
it's like almost like a drug. Well, it is a drug because you get a chemical release on the thoughts and ideas. Like, oh, wouldn't that be amazing? It'd be amazing if only, right? People are stuck in this if only. No, what is? Stop with the if only. What is now? And go forward to where you want to be in the future. I want to achieve this. I want to do this. I want to become this. I want to have this. Well, what does that person do in order to get that? Now bring that back now and actually do that shit right now in the moment. Like if you want to win Hyrox comps and you want to compete, like you could sit there and dream about it all day. As you're aware, the only way you're going to get better at that sled is pushing the damn sled and doing stuff that's going to help you push the damn sled.
People make it so difficult. They're like, what strategy do I need for the sled? Well, no, you just need to get better at fucking pushing the thing and getting stronger at pushing it. Your legs need to be stronger to push it. And they think that there's this magical like thing that they need to do like to help with that. And yes, of course, there is structure and periodization in training that's going to get you stronger, but you need to do it.
Yep.
You know, I've got Gaz on that sled 4 times a day. No, not 4 times a day, 4 times a week.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, I'm stronger than I've ever been.
Yep.
Like in this kind of like field. Obviously he's done his kettlebells and stuff, but you know, with a lot of our athletes that are taking things to kind of the world championship level, like those people all have individual things that they need to work on in order to get to world championship podium. Like that's
strategy, not how I push this sled.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Yeah.
And that's when you look at 4 different people that want to be on world championship level, and they all have, well, everyone has the ability, but they all have that kind of like that step forward already. They've already got that level of conditioning, but now it's about what do we do specifically? Whereas when people are just trying to get stronger for a Hyrox, they just need to get faster and they need to get stronger. Simple as that, to make those small adjustments. And then when they're then ready to step out of the versatility and into the specifics, then they need to start structuring, okay, pace and awareness. I need to look at, you know, how do I structure single leg strength? How do I know what pace to hold on my 8th K, on my 6th K, on my 5th K? Where should I be?
Yep.
And I think that's really relative to everything else we're talking about.
People want all that shit without pushing the damn sled.
Yeah.
Like
without even putting their running trainers on.
Yeah, exactly. Like
you got these CrossFitters coming in and they're like, oh, I never thought 8K could feel so fucking hard. And I'm like, well, I don't know what you'd expect. You're coming off a 175 sled push and now you've got to run a K. If you want to win, you need to be running that K in 4:15s.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how do I get faster? And I'm like, you need to fucking run.
Run, yeah.
Not just think about like just running a couple of warm-up rounds or doing a couple of 5Ks every week. That's not going to suffice.
It's like people talking about macro splits on the nutrition, but they're not actually fucking sticking to anything at all. Like stick to something.
Yeah.
Do it.
That's the first
Be shit
step,
at it.
For
Be
sure.
terrible. Fuck up, fail, fall, then get better.
It goes right back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Like people just don't want to fail.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a big thing. And it's, I think the fear of failure is everything, or being like the amount of messages I get that are like, oh, I've got, I want to do my first Hyrox event. I think I'm relatively fit, but like, I don't want to be an embarrassment.
Yeah.
I don't want to get embarrassed out there. I've got family coming to watch me and I just don't want to be an embarrassment. And I'm like, well, how you portray that is like, those people don't feel like you're an embarrassment.
Yeah, that's living in the gap. That's like, well, like, how about it's fucking courageous just to even do something like that?
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to suck. And you're probably going to be embarrassed at something. You're going to feel that way, but it's not the truth.
I embarrassed myself in my first Spartan race. I turned up in Nike Flyknits. They got no grip on them. All the girls are turning up in Innovates and all the stuff I know now.
But then you're like,
hang on.
Yeah, there's something here.
That's what I should be wearing. Well, fuck
iteration.
I can't go home and get any, so I'm just going to have to try this shit. And there's me sliding up the dunk, like the walls and everything. But the next race I did, I knew I did all right in that stuff, but I was embarrassed. I didn't want to be in any photos because I was like, I haven't got all the gear.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have an idea, but I don't have all the gear. And then obviously got the gear and did all right.
But it's like, again, it's just about iteration. Like, what if your mentality was like, wherever I am right now, if I can just get a little bit better. And that was my mentality. Like, okay, it wasn't where I wanted to be, but what progress have I made as a result? We did this, the gap in the game. We did it in our last workshop. It was talking about, I did an activity with everyone. And you might want to do this at home if you're watching. Basically split a page in 2 and write gap and gain. And in the gap, I want you to do this first. Write down everything that you haven't achieved and accomplished that you set out to achieve. Whether it's this year, this month, this week, the last 12 months, write it all down. You're probably going to look at this list and think you're a failure. You feel like shit. Like, why aren't I there yet? Why don't I do this? Why have I set out to do this and not done it? Like, all these questions will come up. On the gain side, what I want you to do is start acknowledging your growth. Like, what have you achieved over the last 6 months, 12 months, 24 months? Where were you a decade ago versus where you are now? How much more proficient, efficient, skilled, knowledgeable, better than you were when you started? All of this stuff is so important to just acknowledge in ourselves and sit and reflect and actually be like, yeah, I'm pretty damn good at what I do. Like, I might not be where I want to be right now,
but that's okay.
That's okay. But I'm like, I'm so much further ahead than where I was.
And I think like I actually even like physically felt it in my body, the shift. Like when we had to do that.
Yeah.
Like I was writing down all these things and I was like, oh, fucking hell, Jade. Like you, like getting frustrated with myself and feeling all these different emotions and feelings that actually you start to feel in your body. And then all of a sudden we literally flip a switch and you feel excitement, you feel calm, you feel present, and you feel fulfilled. And like it just shows you that as long as you have an awareness of an ability, it shows you that you can change your circumstance and you can change your feeling and thoughts. In the moment, you can change your emotional state in an instant. Yeah. So and I felt very victim-like on that side. Yeah. Like I felt like a victim. I was ready to turn around to Bells and literally be like, oh, like, why haven't I done that? Yeah. Which is my first thing to go to, by the way. Yeah. Shift blame. You didn't push me to do it. But like I felt very victim on that side of the paper, and then literally like cross over that line and I started to feel like a business person. I started to feel like an entrepreneur. I started to feel like, fuck yeah, like you've done really well for like to do all of this stuff. And then as soon as you hit the question, take yourself back to 10 years. Well, that was me. That's how far I've come. Yeah. And but it was a whoa moment. So it's strategic and it's a skill. And we're all skilled at creating emotions. We're just more skilled at creating emotions that we don't want. Everybody listening to this right now is skilled at creating anxiety. Every one of us have experienced it, that pit in the stomach, heart racing. We're all skilled at doing that. We just don't practice the skill of creating the emotions that we actually want. And it's because we don't have the strategy to do so and we don't have the skills to do so. And a simple exercise like that can take you out of anxiety into empowerment in an instant. And we have to train and condition ourselves to do that because we're locked in a pattern. And that pattern will show up every single day. If we change today and we change tomorrow, but we slip off and fall off the wagon the day after that, then the pattern overruled and overrided the change. It's not that we didn't change, we did. We can acknowledge that change. We can go, I made the change and adjustment. Fuck, I can do it. And then we get out of the gap and into the gain. Most people are like, fuck, I fell off the wagon again. I'll stay there.
I failed again. I tried and I failed again. But no, like 2 days, I stuck 2 days together. I did this, 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 I did this. Okay.
Now what?
Now,
what's next?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Looking backwards. Actually, it takes you more future focus than it does looking backwards.
Yeah.
So like doing the left side of that paper before the right was everything. Actually, it'd be interesting to do it the other way around.
Yeah.
And feel the feeling again. Yeah. But feel it the other way around.
Yeah. And that's sometimes what people do. They get a great result in their business, a great win, but they're like, but I still haven't done this.
Yeah.
So they don't even allow themselves to sit with and feel the growth because instantly their mind is like, this is not familiar. This is unfamiliar. This is unknown to me. Yeah. To actually feel good about something is unknown to me. To actually feel like a success is unknown to me. But feeling like a failure is so common, even if it's something we don't experience.
Do you think that's ingrained? Do you think that's learned?
It's learned behavior. It's patterns. Sure. Yeah. It's not even taught to you. It's like something that you have adopted or picked up from your environment growing up. And it's automatic. It'll happen in a moment. You could have the best incident in your business or life. You could have the best moment. There are days when I've done like serious amount of like, there are days I've taken more revenue than I used to take in an entire year, right? And I've not even batted an eyelid at it. Like, I'm just like, whatever, it's just what I do. And then the next day it's like, fuck, something's cropped up. And I'm not even allowing myself to be like, wow, like.
Celebration.
Jade, this is you.
And this is me.
This is
you. Thank you.
Like, huge things.
So you're going from the gain to the gap.
Yeah.
So you like have this amazing thing that happens and then something instantly snaps you back into, but this, blah, blah, blah.
Like my partner's literally like, why don't you celebrate that? Like, let's go out for dinner. Let's actually celebrate.
Initiate the celebration.
Like, do you not realize how big that is? Like when I got my Puma sponsorship, right? That was a big deal. It's the first ever brand that has been like, yeah, like we recognize and, you know, your credibility and everything like that. And I literally got the message from the email from Puma, and like my partner literally looked at me across the kitchen table and was like, are you not really excited? You don't seem it. And I was literally like,
I think I'm more excited about everything than you.
I'm like, yeah. But I had a really shitty message from an athlete earlier.
Yeah.
And it's like, bam, straight into that like negative mindset.
And so here's the thing. If you're not used to or familiar with the feeling of celebration of self, how do you know how to create that?
And it's really interesting, like going deep here. It's really interesting you say that, because I'm going through some stuff at the moment with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad left 10 years ago, being the guy he is, cropping up a little bit and basically trying to he's very much a victim mentality. And, you know, growing up, there was always big events like my football presentation nights, like getting top goal scorer or getting player of the year, like player's player. And it would always be about them. Mm-hmm. And about their situation. So those things were never really celebrated. I'd get to feel it for like a minute.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, like they're having an argument, or
Yep.
they're kicking off, or dad's drinking, or this is obviously, I'm not going to show this bit, but like, you know, and that those things, like you said, like, are probably like looking back now and having the awareness of where that comes from, I think allows you to then strip the layers back to actually change that behavior.
Yeah, you got to reparent yourself in that moment. You're not allowing yourself to feel what it feels like. And it's a skill. We have to develop the skill of celebration in ourselves and celebrate ourselves. Culturally, societally, we're not told to do it. Like if we do it, we're bragging. If we do it, we're a big head. If we're doing it, we're, arrogant. And all of that comes with so much weight that we don't actually sit there and celebrate self. But we need a practice of it. We need a ritual of it. We need to do it more often. And that starts on the micro, day to day, acknowledging the very small things, the tiny little things, the minuscule of things, and then the bigger things. But some people are unwilling to celebrate the small things, so they'll never appreciate the big things because they'll never connect the dots of how they got there.
You're a different person when you journal. Your
gratitude
journal.
There you go. Because that in itself is like focusing on what you have, not what you don't have. That's gain, not gap.
Yeah.
And so we got to flip that very quickly.
For sure.
We are coming up to time.
I
could talk for like another 2 hours easily.
I know.
We'll have to get you back on.
I loved it a lot. I've really enjoyed it. It's my first ever podcast, by the way.
Ever?
So
Is it? Yeah.
In face.
In face.
In face to
I've
face,
done
yeah.
podcasts
Like audio
online
ones,
and
yeah.
everything like
Yeah.
that. But that was, I enjoyed it.
Any
I could
parting
just sit and
words?
talk. I guess just a huge thank you to you for being such a big part of my journey, not just in business, but in me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a reflection of, my business becomes a reflection of who I'm becoming. Like I can see it, like it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, you said in the thing yesterday, you were like, it just smacks you in the face and
Yeah.
like it's all happening.
Like how
That's
the fuck
where
did
I
I get
feel
here?
now. Like I've got a men's health edit going out next month. Like what the hell? Like that's a worldwide magazine.
Yeah.
And that's men's health. Like they're asking
What are you
a
doing to
female.
celebrate?
I'll ask him to be on the front cover. No, I don't know yet. I don't know.
Yeah, as a female being in a men's health magazine.
It's huge.
It's huge as
It's
an
really
athlete. Yeah.
huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's almost like, what did they say? Iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It
fucking
is
iconic.
quite. It is, yeah. Because they've actually asked me to be in there as athlete and coach.
Yeah.
So they're actually showing a level of, actually like this is an authoritative person as a female.
In a brand new sport, that's the fastest growing sport in the world, as a female, in a male magazine.
It's all that masculine energy.
Right. Thank you
Loved
so
it.
much. Love
Thank
it.
you.
You're welcome.